Hey everyone, GeForce41 here with another PGA Tour 2K23 design tip tutorial video. This is Quick Tips 10. Quick Tips 10. So we are going to revisit our continuing saga today with EraserGib's newest version of his test course. This is EraserGib test version 2. If you recall, our now episodic saga, we're getting like more episodes than like Star Wars here, folks. I think this is episode 3 or 4. Last version was, I think, Quick Tips 7, something like that. We featured his course where I gave him all sorts of advice on how to make things better. He's certainly done that here. You can see immediately this looks a lot better. But we're going to go through this and see what we can find, okay? Because there's certainly always room for improvement, and that's what we're here for. We give you newer designers, beginner designers, some great ideas, tips, suggestions, course design tips, strategy tips to make you a better designer, okay? Because that's how I learned, and I'd like to, kind of share that experience now, and it's fun. So hopefully you're enjoying these videos. So please like and subscribe if you are, and make sure you drop us some comments, okay? Happy to engage with you when we've used some of our viewers' courses as well. So quick thoughts off the tee here. Lighting. I might do a lighting video. That's been covered many times before by other designers, but hasn't been done in a while. So I see the same issue with most of these beginner courses. Quick tips. The lighting is blah. This says morning on the the home screen when you first sign into the game and the course, and well, right? It's down light. So if anybody's designed before, the down light looks much worse than the light being behind where you're looking, right? So if you're looking, where is the light it's coming this way, right? So I think this one is actually pretty high in the sky, and really probably about mid-morning. So I don't know where he's at, but I think you can use a little bit more of a lighting effect here. So the first hole, you got to make a decision, right? Do you want it to look great, or do you want it to just kind of be down light? It's going across a little bit, but you might want to play with the light here, lower it a bit, lower the inclination, maybe lower the time of day. I don't like the morning. Believe it or not, everyone, the morning and the afternoon, it's a little different. It does look a little different. So I tend to set my courses about 4 o'clock, something like that. And inclination, I've moved up to around 40 to 50, something like that. There's also a way to, if you want a neutral look, and I can do this in the video, have it be a little bit more towards noon, but you need clouds in the sky. You need it to be overcast, okay? So this is just kind of a little bright, and you're not taking advantage of the lighting effect. Now, I think people go to that well too often and rely on it too much. With that being said, use it to your advantage. So maybe that's a subject of another video. I pointed out the bunkers don't look sculpted. They definitely need some work there. You can see that mound right in the middle of that bunker. So these need to be pretty smooth. They could be big bunkers on the side of a hill like they are there. That's fine. And that pond off to the left, that's a nice little touch. You can make that maybe a little bit bigger, but I would plant around it, put some of the grasses around it, some bushes, kind of like I do on my courses. I like the multiple bunkering around the green here. I think they're fine. I think this one might be a little bit bigger, get it a little closer. But again, you want to sculpt these, flatten these. You might have that one looks okay. Some of these look a little, yeah, that needs a little work, right? Because it's a big face, and then it's kind of bathtubby down here. So they look a little bathtubby here, etc. So it's kind of hard when you're getting in the side of the hill, but hey, it takes work. Also, I mentioned that his splines from the fairway intersect the greens at perpendicular angles, and to work on that. So it looks better. It's not perfect, but good job, because it's very hard to describe what I'm talking about over text. You kind of just have to see it. And I didn't go into too much detail in my video about Newton Commonwealth Country Club, formerly Commonwealth Golf Club, or Commonwealth Country Club, I should say. That I'm still working on, everyone. Still working on that. The front of the green looks pretty good. It's still a little steep, but pretty good job. We'll look at more of those as we go. Just want to make sure we get rolling here, literally and figuratively. Alright, starts with an up and down par. So the trees look kind of bare, right? In the game, some folks really don't like the way the trees intersect with the ground. So it just kind of looks like computer generated. There's a tree, then there's ground. Where in real life, the roots are kind of going to be up a little bit. And there's a little bit of bare ground and things like that. So I tend to hide them with planting with some of the long grasses. It's a pain. It takes up meter, but you got to make a decision on whether you want to do that or not. Let's look at any of my courses. Taconic State Park Blue. I think I did that pretty much all over the course. Probably Taconic State Park Red. I did it as well. All right, good idea with the... I like this bush. I use it all the time, but I use it as an accent. Okay, so here you want the grasses with various bushes and some of these scattered in. You don't want all just this bush. So I like the idea, the effect that you're going for. You want a kind of shrubby waste area, which we have a lot of these in New England, but use grasses, vary the bushes, and that's a fine bush, but use it sporadically. I'm using that a lot now on my design. Again, so here's the other side of this pond. You want to, put some grasses in here. You don't want to be too repetitive with those plants. They look a little silly if you have multiple. You kind of bunch those, right? You'd see those in the corner of the pond, bunched up a little bit, all right? Also, I tend to fill in the heavy rough here and not leave this awful kind of gray thing around it. But I put grass around mine. Same thing over there. You want grasses in there. I think this is a little small for a 200 plus yard hole. I like the idea. I like the position of the bunkering. It could be that it's up front. Let me see how this lands. Yeah, it's not super small. You can get away with it. I may be a little bit bigger. There's a hill there. So far the greens are reasonable. We wouldn't want them to be not casual friendly, considering the two of us are the administrators and doing most of the stuff on the casuals, where we value casual friendly courses. So you're not going to see too much in terms of slopes on the greens here, I don't think. All right. So again, that behind tee shot, I call them the BTs, behind tees. You don't want to do. You want to be careful of the planting even behind the tee, because you're going to get it in that cut scene. So you want to make that look nice. Put a bench back there sometimes, or just a couple bushes or the grasses by the trees, right? Makes it look a lot better. So this one is again, you want to. This doesn't need to be hilly in front of you, right? You can definitely smooth that out, flatten that out a little. I don't think it's really impacting the view, but it just, it's a little bumpy. I think there's a couple of views on here that you have to work on. Strategically, this isn't doing a whole lot. I would just smooth this a little. It might not be a bad spot for bunker just above that circle, just because there's not a ton going on here strategically, and I don't think that would be overdoing it at all. Especially if you have other tees, that might be a good forced carry from the other tees. Just smooth it a little, the sculpting. Yeah, that's right in front of me. That's a little much. It's a little high and looks too big. I would just smooth it, lower it a little bit. Nothing wrong with having a bunker like that that's kind of elevated and gives you a blind shot. The green entrance here, yeah, I'm glad I looked. I remember this. I did play this once before. That needs a little smoothing. That's a little too steep. So that's what I'm talking about on my green entrances video. There's that kind of bump right there. If you hit that right in front of it, it's like going to be like a wall and just hammer right back down the hill. So you definitely need to smooth that out. And what I tell you on that video and many of my videos is you got to hit that first because you want to smooth it out before you do the green, because if you don't, then you smooth it out, you're going to impact the green. The green's going to get lower and you're going to have to redo the green. So it's a little bit of trial and error, but I like the elevation. I like elevated greens. Whoops. But you got to be careful of that entrance. That's a little too much, I think, okay? All right, so it's up the hill 21 feet, 3 degrees, uphill lie. And the splines are looking better going into the green. There you go. So it would even look better on that little kind of cutscene where you're looking back down towards the fairway over my shoulder. You can even see that in that little cut. So it improves the appearance and the playability. Okay, this one, yeah, you got some roly-polies here. Again, I would just smooth those a little. Your splining on the fairways looks better. That looks fairly smooth. But again, you kind of got those lumps and bumps over there. Getting contours into the fairways and making it look natural is, I think, very hard. Some people are very into it. Ben, certainly, B101, into the fairway undulations, etc. Some of the more kind of classic designers, traditional, like you would see with Matt F27, not as much. It's definitely trial and error. It's very hard to explain how to do. I don't do it great, but I tend to go with longer, smoother contours to the fairway rather than, you know, kind of those small bumps that you might see on a links course. Yeah, I like the green shape. You got some more undulations here. Not bad. So let's see what happens. I think that fairway, it's way too much in the separation. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. See if I can pull it up here since I'm not on the green. No, it's giving me this. The apron and the fairway were separated by a really wide margin. Let's see if I can turn around. That's way too much, okay? Way too much. So, I'm not sure what you're going for there, but you could have the separation. I don't think you could extend that apron down a bit, or the fairway. I definitely would make the apron bigger no matter what. And you can have an end and make that part of the challenge of having a 3-shot hole, or if you're in the rough, you've got a little bit of creek or maybe one of those grassy waste areas like you had on the par 3. You can throw in there, but make it small. That's just a little much, okay? For my taste. Of course, you know, this is all my opinion, folks, so yours might differ, and could you have it? Sure. But especially when you're a new designer, people are going to be looking at the course like, all right, does this guy have any clue what he's doing? So I think when you get a little bit more experience, you can get away with some experiments. Highly subjective, of course. All right, let's keep rolling. 5th hole. So that's a big slope. I mean, you can have it if that's what you want, if you want it to ride off that hill. But again, this is a fairly long hole, 478, and a really wide fairway. I think the trees are a little too intrusive here. I like having trees kind of close to your view, but if you look at this, you know, that's kind of right down the fairway that they're in play. So I'd move those off to the right. And let's take a look at the rest of the hole. I detect a principal nose and this is the double plateau. So I like the idea. The fairway's probably a little large, but yeah, you got the principal nose bunker and then a double plateau green. So these are hard to pull off, and part of this is my fault. I suggested to EraserGib, if you're looking for hole ideas and inspiration, turn to the template holes, right? They're tried and true, and you can put your own take on them. So this is a hard one to pull off. So my hat is off to you for trying. I think this is up there on the scale of degree of difficulty. If you watch the Olympics and the diving, right, they have the degrees degrees of difficulty. I'll talk about the green in a second. Let me just hit this. I think pulling off these greens is kind of the triple Lindy of of template greens. So there you got a crowd over there bunched. You know, if you're going to put the crowds, great. We love T-Ready on the casuals, but you got to spread them out, sprinkle them around. All right, so the thing with a double plateau, basically you have two raised sections and a lower section, and they're separated by a little bit of a channel. And usually they're L-shaped. And what you usually see is the front left and the back right are the raised plateaus, hence the double plateau, and the front right is the lower. Okay, so the corner of it is the lower. So that's kind of what you have here, but you've got it going diagonally. So usually it would kind of go like this. You'd be approaching it this way. So I would move it. I know you'd have to redo the sculpting, where you can just copy and you can move the spline. You don't have to change the green necessarily, but it just kind of looks funny. It almost looks like an arrow or a heart this way. Not that you can't. You can do that if you want, but most often you're going to see it that way. Okay, something like that. You might see it that way, but that's kind of what you're going for, where you have you know, a lower section, and then you have an upper section, so it's kind of like a two-tier, and then you have a left section, or you have a right section, okay? Not easy to pull off. I've only done one of them. Try to think of, you know, and please interact with us, folks. If you have an example of a good double plateau hole that someone's done, please put it in the comments. I know... I'm sure B101 has a couple somewhere. We're trying to think where else. Mayday's definitely got a couple. Mayday does nice, interesting takes on template holes. So, I don't know if he has one on Evangelist. He might have one on Nasita Pines. Am I saying it right? But if you have any ideas, let me know. Speaking of templates, road hole time. All right, I don't know. You guys, you let me know what you think of this one. I think I like the idea, but that's kind of coming out of nowhere in the middle of the course, I think. And it's a little too intrusive. But makes it interesting. Make your course unique. And this fairway's a little odd. This is more like a bottle. I mean, that's fine. I kind of like the bottle idea here. I don't know if this is much like the road hole for real. Then let me hit the shot, and then we'll talk about the green. Ah! Oh, roof. Hit the roof. Ah. Alright, let me just roll one out here. Again, I would smooth this fairway. That's a little bumpy. So some basic sculpting. There's no hazard over the hole, right? So the hole's more angled. The green's more angled than a road hole, and there's trouble behind it. Now, you're not always going to have a road, but you could have out of bounds if it was the end of a course. You could put in a hazard, a river, or a pond, or something like that. Because the whole point of the road hole is the hazard. It's a thin green. It's hard to hold. Not only hitting over the hotel on the initial shot, you've got trouble behind. Now, in the real hole, you can run it, you hit the wall or whatever, but sometimes you have to hit one off the wall or the wall's in your way. It's also a par 4, not a par 5, but there's no reason you can't have a par 5 road hole. So that's what I mean about being creative. If you want to take some creative license and say, my road hole's going to be a par 5, Great. Let's see. 1 under. All right. So again, there's kind of little strategy off the tee on this one. And I think, again, this is 7, right? There's a huge gap between the fairway and the hole. And again, if you're going to stop the fairway, just have a reason. I'm not sure there's much of a reason here. That's not a huge hill. There's no hazard. There's no anything. I like the little mound there, but there's not a whole lot of reason to stop that fairway. So you can make it, more of an elevation change, kind of a big ditch or a pit if you really want to stop it or keep it going. It's there for a reason. The hole I like to talk about is my, it's a bit of a punch bowl too. Cuyahoga Downs 10 is based on Inverness 10. It's just, elevation change down to a lower fairway. That's how the hole is in real life, and that's why the fairway stops. But so just think about that to make that hole more interesting. I like the punch bowl. See where it's flowing. Don't forget, punch bowls will drain. So this is literally a bowl. So this is definitely a puddle green. Punch bowls, check out my videos on making your greens look natural. I talk about punch bowls. Specifically in the first one, I go over the punch bowl at Sleepy Hollow. It definitely, they all drain. It drains over to the side here, right? So it's pitched up to the front right. So definitely, if you want to make it realistic, think about that. Because this looks like everything's just draining to the middle. Everything's literally going in. They don't actually do that because they wouldn't drain. And you'd have huge problems. So there is a little bit of drainage on them. Will most people notice that? No. Will I? Yes. All right, short par 3, and it is a short template. So again, we're thinking, I just brought up Sleepy Hollow, and we've got a fingerprint green. Not bad. I mean, if that's what I'm not sure it fits what you're doing. If you want to go Rainer, go Rainer. If you're not going to go Rainer, I'm not sure I would, in CB McDonald, I would do that. So it's kind of, I just, the geometric all of a sudden is a little odd because it doesn't quite fit. But go ahead. I mean, try it. You can just, instead of making this rectangular, maybe you make it a little bit more of an oval, kind of make it your own. But if you want to keep it, it'll be interesting. That's fine. Again, that's just my opinion. Don't forget to keep sculpting these bunkers. You don't have to make the, whoa. I was heading towards it. That's why these greens are, these types of holes are exciting. The bunkers don't necessarily have to be geometric, right? The actual course in Sleepy Hollow, the bunker goes around the entire green. Okay, 9th hole. Ooh, I don't like this visual off the tee. Yep, this is the one I was thinking of. So look at the visual off the tee. That big bump is there. No reason for that. And please hold. See what I mean? These hills, there's no reason for these. So just flatten those out, get rid of them. If you really want bumps or something, just lower them, but don't have them in your line of view. Okay? If you want to have a valley there with grass and a hill and whatever, that's fine. It's also obstructing the view of the bunker there. So again, you always want to show your work, show your bunkers, make sure they're showing as much as feasible and possible. That's fine to have it cut in the side like that. I like it. I like that little I don't know if you're getting rid of the rough there or if that's just happening, but that's fine, and that's a good place to plant. So again, my make your planting look natural videos. I talk about this, and you put a little grass and a small bush around there. That'll add some character to your course. Smooth all this stuff out, right? So this is very bumpy. This looks like a very rough draft, and this hill here is a little much. So I like, kind of the dog leg. How much do you want to cut off? You got to hit the right shape, or you'll do that. That's fine. But I would just work on the sculpting. See how bathtubby the bunker is? I'm not sure about the green shape, kind of going off to the side like that, but it's a little too perpendicular. I would kind of angle that more, make it more of an angle. And now you've got one, so you got some crowd stuff in there. That's fine if you want to continue with that stuff, but just make up your mind, because it's kind of got to be an all or nothing. You don't want to sporadically put a crowd thing here or there. So it's hard to put all those in and make it look consistent. I've failed on that task myself. Witnessed the first Cuyahoga Downs from last game's version. I got rid of all that stuff for the PGA Tour 2K23 version. The PGA Tour 2K21 version had all sorts of tournament objects. But I didn't really finish that look. So that's okay. I don't, that's not bad to have those cutting across the fairway. You got to make up your mind. You want to center just one center line bunker or not. See what you did with that. That it just doesn't look super great with that. I don't know if you use shapes and that's just the rough coming out there. Usually you put a spline around it. And then kind of fill it in a little bit. So, which is a pain. You got to put another fairway spline around all those bunkers, shape that, and then, fill that in however you want. And you don't really want a lot of heavy rough in the middle of the course. I'm sorry, the middle of the fairway. What is going on off the tee? Too much talking, not enough swinging. So that just doesn't have a great look to it. So you really got to sculpt those and make those look really good. That's not going to work. Be decent. Come on back. Alright, on to 11. Another par 5. Let's see what we got going on here. Alright, so you can't really see. There's a bunker there, I can tell, but you can't really see it. So again, you show your work. That's totally not sculpted, so you got to work on that. And again, look at the rough in front of me here. Right? Again, that should be flattened and lowered. It's just in your view. It doesn't do you any good, right? It doesn't help with your look or feel at all. Again, this is not a bad concept because you're a fourth carry over that bunker. That's fine. I'm not sure. What is that over there? I didn't notice that the first time. Is that for this hole? Or is that some sort of practice green? So I'm not sure what that is, but I would say this makes a fine dogleg hole. I would put trees in there. You've got some tees off to the left. I'm not sure that'll work. You can move the tees. But there should be a tree line here, and then this is a dogleg. That's fine. And that's a pretty standard kind of hole. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I'm not sure what's going on there. Again, the visual blind. I'm not sure if that's on purpose. And you got a funky kind of crescent green I don't necessarily mind the shape, but I don't like the positioning, right? Where it's just kind of a semicircle cut off, especially with the long shot in. That type of shape isn't a bad idea, but again, I would move it, right? So instead of coming at it this way, if you're coming at it that way, it's a little bit more interesting. So you can play around with that, find an angle that works, or keep it that way. Again, your comments here, folks, would be more than welcome. I don't claim to be the authority on these things. I just claim to have experience designing these things and making many a mistake along the way, for which I'm happy to share my experience with you. Make sure you don't make those mistakes. All right, let's move to the next part 3. It's a short one, only 14 feet downhill. So, all right, this is a short one. It looks a little funky. It's almost like a teardrop. I kind of like that shape. That's a little small. Could you have a postage stamp? Sure. I mean, I might make it a little bit bigger. And what you want to do, the short threes, you want to make it on a really scenic piece of land, like probably one of your best points on the property. So if you're on a coast or a cliff or something like that, obviously the people think of Pebble Beach 7. And you're not going to always have anything that dramatic, but the point is make it on a nice piece of the property. This is kind of a little bit blah. The apron's a little small, and I would say you try to maybe have a little bit more of an elevation change on a short 3, just to play with the distance control. Do you have to do any of those? No. Are those ideas to help you? Sure. So that apron just looks like a little funny. And for those of you who think I might be being critical, no, I'm trying to help. But this is kind of when I play my own courses or I play my own drafts of a new course I'm designing. This is what I'm doing in my head. I'm going through it and looking at it, right? And saying, how can this be better? How is somebody going to view this hole that hasn't played it before, that doesn't know me, didn't design the course, and doesn't know what's going on in my brain, right? So, one of the things I said early on is make sure you're your own best critic. When you're doing a course, play it and look at it with a critical eye, right? Make sure you're looking at it like you're looking at it for the first time. And how is somebody going to view this, right? How's an expert designer going to view this? How's a new player going to view this? How's an expert player going to view this and say, oh, this is annoying? Because I could tell you an expert player is going to think that hill right there is annoying. It's too much. Too big of a hill. Because it's just going to hit that and then roll all the way down. You don't see that a whole lot, okay? Now you got a ridiculously blind shot, and now you've got a green surrounded by a bunker. So I like that. I like that shape, and I like that. I almost rather see that on the thumbprint hole. So I'm not sure what it's doing here, but that is definitely unique and interesting. Again, I think you end the fairway way too far back. The fairway should go up to about there, maybe somewhere around here, where that hill starts, which is fine if you do that. I don't know. What do you guys think of that? I'm kind of in between. It's unique, it's different. But again, is it at a place? If you want to do that kind of stuff, you have to be fairly consistent with being unique. Does that make any sense? Be consistently unique. It's tough, folks. I mean, you want it to be your course to have consistency, but you want variation, right? So that's kind of the art of the deal, so to speak. Again, you kind of can't see that bunker, right? So the sculpting needs work. The sculpting in front of that fairway needs work. I can't see what the hell's going on down there. And then what is that up on the Front left. We'll see. And then you got a unique kind of bunker thing going on. Oh, I blocked that one right. But I'm going to get lucky. All right. So I like that idea. So this is kind of... I'd rather see something like that on the last hole than that surround the green kind of thing. I would take the grasses. You can make them a little bit more sporadic in the bunker. And there's some grasses that are a little wispier and thinner you can put in there if you want to make it like more like a waste bunker. And then put the grasses kind of around the edges here. I might not go that close to the green. I'd give yourself a little bit more space. And then put some planting around it. And that could look really cool. So I like that idea. I like the angle of the green. And the pitch of the green. Pretty good stuff. So this could be a pretty hole. Just got to work on that a little. So yes, designing a course is a lot of work. It's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of rework. It's going back and looking at it. You know, I always kind of want to keep going. I don't do almost like a rough draft and then go back. Because I want to keep doing the rest of the course. I don't want to just completely do one hole, move to the next. Because I find as you progress through a course, especially if you're being very unique and creative, you don't know what it's going to wind up like by the end, and you don't want to have to go back and redo everything, right? So that's why I kind of plant a little bit at the end. I do some test planting. All right, I think this is what my look and feel is going to be like. And then kind of keep going from there. So like this, see, it's got a little bit more of elevation change. It's a mid-size par 3. I like the bunker there. You need, I think, a little bit more of an apron. You don't need that much of a bunker there. You could probably put the bunker over there. I don't think you need it in the front. And you got a big pot bunker over here. Again, it's a little too steep and deep, bathtubby, but good position. So I like that. Oh, I would that's probably a little much, so I'd flatten that. But you got to work on this pond, right? So see that off to the left, right? It's just a little high up. So you got to make the land enter that water naturally. That's a huge drop. So you just got to lower and flatten it. I know what you do when you make the pond is you basically take the brush and you sink it and bring up the water. But you got to really work around the sides and make it look natural, because that does not look natural. Again, there's nothing around it, so you can bring that down gently. Right? I don't see there's nothing at all on either side. So bring that down, make it look nice, make it look natural. So this could be a really pretty hole. And then, you know, make sure you can see that pond off the tee, from the tee box. So again, this could be a pretty hole. That was not a pretty putt. See, you saw the pond there. So in that little cutscene, it would be, you know, another great visual to just give you that look and feel of a nice course. Here, again, just general smoothing and sculpting, I think. And again, you see how the tree just looks bare over there on the right? Like, that's why you just throw a little grass or planting around it. Not a ton of strategy off the tee here. That might be too big of a hill. A little hill's okay. Now this is blind. I think that big hill right in front of me might be a little too big. Round it and lower it, right? Maybe. But if that's intentional, that's fine. But you're gonna have a lot of blind shots in, which isn't a bad thing necessarily if you get it way out there. All right, 2 under, 2 to go. Let's see if he can finish strong. All right, this one isn't bad. Again, it's a big hill off to the side. That might be too much. Might be too steep. We'll see. Again, just work on those visuals off the tee. Every tee is a picture. Paint a picture. The master of that is Arctic Fury. All of us cannot be Arctic Fury, but we can make a pretty picture off the tee. That might be a little steep. I can guarantee you there are going to be some shots that just bound all the way down there. You want to be careful of that. Again, think about, you know, the experts players playing. If they hit what they think is a good tee shot and rolls from one side of the fairway off to the other into the rough, they're going to be ticked off. So just be cognizant of that with your sloping on the fairways. Again, I think that's one of the tougher things to do to make fairway slopes interesting and playable and fair, which is why I'm not too severe with most of them. Coming home, let's see what 18 looks like. Oh yeah, tree in the middle hole. I don't mind trees in the middle. There's I don't want to say famous. There's a local finishing hole, Stowe Acres North, in Stowe, Massachusetts, that has that tree right in the middle. I always like the hole. It's a par 5. I think it's a fairly tough hole to finish on, but I'm knocking on wood, have never hit the tree in my life. And you might say that's because it's the middle of the fairway, Gary, but haha. No, there's plenty of room off to the right, and if you want to really cut the hole and take some liberties and take a shortcut, then you want to cut it on the left. This is going the opposite way, but I like that idea, so I'm thinking of that concept here. But I just think you need more room out here to the right. So you might want to, first of all, it looks a little silly. It's a little bit of a small island. You might want to just make it a little bit bigger, an oval, not too big, and just a little bit more room. Because anytime you have a center line hazard, a bunker or a tree, you want to make sure there's plenty of room on either side of it. You want to perhaps have a short side that's a little bit more of a challenge. Now you got a bunker here, and then maybe a bigger side, but that's not as advantageous. So I think you're close here, because cutting this corner here is going to be more advantageous than being out here. But I would give the player a lot of room, almost out to that bare area, kind of a straight line with my circle here. Just give that fairway, and then I'd probably give a little bit more here. You don't have to give too much, just because there's a bunker there too. But you want to entice the player to cutting that corner, or say, I'm not even going to bother, I'm just going to bail out to the right, because this is a much easier shot from here than there. So conceptually pretty good, just needs a little bit of work. Get on it. Get on in. No. But I will take the birdie to finish. So there it is, folks. Our continuing saga of EraserGib's venture into course design. EraserGib test version 2. Awesome job, my man, taking into account the comments and suggestions I have made. So there it is. Have at it, folks. Give your comments, give your suggestions, drop them in my comments, or just feel free to drop them a line. All right. We'll see you on the Casuals Golf Club. For now, goodbye for now, but we will talk real soon. I'll be doing some more playthroughs and some more PGA Tour 2K23 course design tips coming your way soon. Thanks all.